Hi guys, it's Jake at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're taking a look at a Victorinox knife. This is the Hunter XT. Yes, I was stropping a knife. I was cutting some paper and everything after I'd stropped it to see how good it was. And I don't know how it happened, but my finger was cut, and in like this, it just rammed in. My hands behind the knife just rammed in to the top of my knuckle, stopped at the bone, and I cut a little bit of my knuckle, like the bone part. That's why I'm leaving this on here so I don't bend my finger. The cut isn't rather significant. The cut's going to heal up okay. It's just that bone, when I put any stress on my hand or on that finger at all, it hurts like the dickens. So you can ignore this now. Hunter XT. I got this at Walmart. 35 Canadian pesos. What is that? I'm just doing a brain kind of math. That's going to be around 25, 26 US dollars, something like that. So the Victorinox Hunter XT has got a full-size flat grind blade. It's got a great recurve serrated blade. It has a fairly thin and effective saw blade, and it has a Phillips screwdriver. So those three blades and a Phillips, that's all there is to it. Liner locks on the two knives, and that's the knife that we're going to look at today. So if you're interested at all in the Hunter XT, it comes right now more popularly in this bright kind of orangey yellowy color with black. I'll show you a picture of that. Or you can get this guy, and it was on clearance at Walmart here in Canada. I've got no idea if that's across Canada or just here in Alberta. And I don't know what the prices are around, but I'll take a look and I'll put it in the video description below on what it might be for you wherever you live. But for now, we're going to take a good look and a full review at this Hunter XT by Victorinox. Stick around. Victorinox is one of those brands that growing up as a kid, I always was intrigued by, and I saw them around and always wanted those kinds of knives. They were a little bit too expensive for me. My parents were immigrants. My oldest siblings were immigrants, and our family didn't have a lot of extra cash around. So this kind of knife, a Victorinox knife, is not something that I've had very many of, at least not during my younger years. More recently, I've had a few. And I saw this guy at Walmart last week here in central Alberta, and they're selling it for $35.00. Whenever you see the full dollars with 0 cents at Walmart, that means it's a rollback of something that they're trying to get rid of. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to try it. I'm going to pick up this knife and we're going to check it out. So what do we have? The Victorinox Hunter XT, I mentioned that this knife was introduced in 2011, so it's been around for 6+ years. And it's a relatively decent knife in a lot of significant ways. The steel on this is 1.4110 stainless steel. That's 4110 for a lot of people. It's a decent stainless steel, a good, high end of the budget range, but still within the budget range in my estimation. And of course, Victorinox knives are made, it says right here, Swiss made, and it's a nice cutting tool. The handle material here is a nylon. That's what the firmer green area is. And this black stuff, I think it's something like a TPE. It's a softer kind of material. You can put your fingernail in it, and it dents in a tiny bit and it comes back out when you let go of it. So just to give you a little bit extra grip. So let's talk first about the main blade. The main blade is sort of a pen blade style with a hump and a hole. But if you just went back along the ridge of the blade here and just kept going straight back. You'd call this sort of like a large penknife. You'd call it a full flat grind. So that's what I'm going to call it. Victorinox puts a nice little sharpness choil in there right there. It's a nice big long flat knife. And, you know, it's a liner lock on this guy. It's kind of left-hander's liner lock. You've got to, you know, come across this side and move it over that way to unlock the main blade. And then you can close it. So it's definitely not something I can easily do all the time with one hand, but with my left hand, it's quite easy. With my right hand, maybe not so much. My right hand is the one that's kind of gimped up right now. So it's sort of a left-hander's blade for the main blade. And the secondary blade is more the traditional style, which I would have expected the secondary blade to be the one that would have the, you know, the other kind. The saw blade that's in the middle doesn't have a lock at all. It's just a slip joint saw blade. And the other slip joint is the Phillips tool. It doesn't lock in place either. It's just a slip. So there you go. That's all the tools. And you've got this tiny little hole out here. And it comes with this 1 centimeter, half-inch sort of split ring for your adding a lanyard on or what have you. So let's talk about dimensions. Main blade, 7.8 centimeter cutting edge, 3 inches. Blade thickness, 2.4 millimeters, which is 0.096 inches. The thickness of the cutting edge behind the grind is 0.43 millimeters, which is 0.016 inches, which is nice and thin. Really good for an EDC kind of knife that you're doing a lot of slicing with. A knife that's got just over 1 centimeter, just over half of an inch from spine to the blade at, you know, this thickness. That's a really good kind of behind the grind thickness. Very effective, works quite well. The handle length is 11 centimeters, 4.4 inches. The thickness of this handle is 1.9 centimeters, 7.5 inches. The total length open, and I'm only giving the total length open with the main blade, I'm not going to give you all the others, is 19.7 centimeters, which is 7.4 inches. The weight of this unit is 151 grams, 5.3 ounces. The secondary blade, this recurve blade, has a cutting edge of 6.3 centimeters, which is 2.5 inches. The cutting edge for this saw is right around 8 centimeters, just a little over 3 inches, 3.15 or whatever. And that's pretty much the specs on it. Let's go on to how well this knife cuts. Let's start with this full flat blade. We've got some newsprint. So if it's cutting newsprint that well, you know you've got a sharp edge. And Victorinox has a nice sharp edge from the factory. Works quite well for cutting that kind of stuff. Let's try cutting some paracord and see how well it does. A little bit harder for me to hold this. There we go. Let's try cutting this paracord. Cuts very well. Quite easy. And let's try this slicing motion. It slices very easily as well. No problems there. Let's try cutting this banding. That cuts quite well too. And take this piece of wood out here this time. The banding slices very easily. It's a good main blade. How about this recurve blade? Well, the recurve blade, I'm not going to try cutting the paper and stuff. It just is what it is. Let's see how it does on this. I'm very lightly pulling. I didn't pull hardly at all. This banding, this is the kind of thing that this serrated blade cuts very well. If you are in a car accident or you come across a car accident and you've got to cut somebody loose from a seatbelt, this blade will do it very, very easily. No problem at all. It'll just go right through. That's one of the kinds of materials that a serrated blade is made to cut. And they've done a very good job with this serrated blade. It's only serrated down on one side, so it's quite easy to sharpen if you need to. And it's got the nice recurve all the way along. Nice safety tip on here. I like this blade an awful lot, and it works very, very well. Glad it's got a liner lock on it. And the saw works very well also. Okay, so let's do the cut test out here. You know, I could hold this right down here so it doesn't shake all over the place. And open the saw blade. Here we go. Let's do this end because it doesn't have any cuts at all on it, as you can see. And we'll hold it and we'll cut through this guy. So do a couple back cuts to get a trench started. There we go. Not too bad, easy squeezy. You know, I had a little bit of a jump in there and stuff, but it works. So those saw teeth are quite good, very effective. I like them quite a lot. It's just uncomfortable in the hand. I found I did a squeeze like this, that kind of hold, and put my finger across there. That works much better. It doesn't hurt as much as this. Holding it like this just hurts the hand. I have to hold it like this if I wanted to get anywhere without too much pain on the hand. But the teeth on the knife are done very well, and they cut quite a nice cut. So let's see how well this Phillips tool works. So I've got the Phillips driver. I've got a screw here, and I'm going to start just in a blank piece of this wood, and I'm just going to screw it in. And this kind of T-handle that I'm using, which this knife becomes the T-handle, the handle of it, is a really effective way to drive a screw. You get loads of torque without very much effort in your hand. So it's very easy to drive a screw using this tool. This is your standard Phillips size. I believe it's number 2, and it just fits very, very well in most screws. And it's very easy to drive a screw using this Phillips screwdriver. So this bit driver just is a very well done bit. I like it an awful lot. It works. What else do you want to know? It works. So what are the pros and cons of this knife? What do I like and what do I don't like? Well, the biggest pros are these blades are done very well. The cutting edge on both of these is very, very good. Actually, all 3 of them. The cutting edge on this saw is very good as well. It just cuts very easily and effectively. Would I like if it locked? Yeah, maybe, but it doesn't really need to. It cuts very well without it. The width of the blade is wider at the teeth here than it is at the spine, so it narrows down towards the spine of the blade, and that means it doesn't bind up when you're cutting. The tools are all very, very effective, and they work. That's the big plus. The handle is totally uncomfortable. That's the big negative. So when I've got the main blade out and I'm holding this in my hand, if I squeeze at all while I'm cutting, this, it's rounded, it's not sharp, but it hurts. It hurts on my fingers if I squeeze at all using this knife. So it's just nasty. I've had to a couple times do this. I open that up and I've used the knife like this. It's still a little bit uncomfortable because of this liner lock sticking out. How many liner lock knives do you have that have the liner lock arm sticking out that far? It's just a bad, bad design. And it's really bad design to use a knife like this while you've got this edge sticking out. So it's just bad to do it that way. But, I found in my tests that I just got so sore in my long-term cutting. I wanted to see how well this edge lasted. And so I just opened that up just to do that. And it's just, that's naughty. Same thing with this guy. You're holding it, and that thin, long edge, it's sticking out there half an inch or more from the handle, and it's just very, very uncomfortable. So the liner locks, they function properly. Well, in a sense, you push them over to unlock them, but they all go totally past to lock up. So each knife is loose. There's blade play up and down on both of these blades, just because, the liner lock goes all the way over. On this main blade, it's reversed the wrong way. You have to push it towards the outside, and, but the blade is loose, playing up and down. You might be able to see how far that's moving. It's just naughty that the blade play is so bad up and down. And why did they make the main blade have the reverse lock on it? Why didn't they make the main blade on this side so that it has the correct way of unlocking, or the way people are used to, moving that direction to unlock the knife? So this should have been the main blade, in my opinion, just because muscle memory makes it, standard to lock and unlock the knife. The saw blade, same thing. It's really great, but once you're sawing for a little while, your hand gets terribly sore. Now you've got two of these knife handles sticking out, or this, where the hole is sticking out, and it's just naughty. I just dislike it completely. There are other Victorinox knives that are very similar in size and shape and have the same kind of blades, but they don't have this raised area with the hole. I would say get one of those. If you're anything like me, get one of those. It's a decent knife. It's just the big flaw is these holes. I'd much rather have a nail nick right here and open the blade up with a nail nick. Using these, they're trying to cash in off of the Spyderco, success. That's my guess. And they just did a very poor job of it. So for $35, the knife is a very effective knife. It's just uncomfortable. So I will not be buying this again. So thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, and remember, always cut towards your chum, not your knuckle or your thumb.